Hans Zimmer has cemented himself as one of cinema's most recognizable, popular, and impressive composers through his incredible catalog of films, consistently leaving his mark on and elevating world-renowned movies like Inception, the Dark Knight trilogy, The Lion King, Gladiator, Interstellar, and Pirates of the Caribbean. Many times, the most memorable parts of the films he contributes to are his captivating scores, but one of his most forgotten, yet still perhaps equally exceptional works comes from Steve McQueen's 2013 masterpiece, 12 Years a Slave.
Well, I don't want to survive. I want to live.
In 12 Years a Slave, Hans expertly accommodates the film's breathtaking cinematography and characters by combining them with simple instrumentation, strings, woodwinds, and percussion that not only draw particular emotions from the audience that coincide with the scene's energy, atmosphere, tone, and movement, but also enhance the audience's immersion into the characters' thoughts and feelings.
On this movie, what was actually really important is to use very traditional instruments. The whole thing is just basically based on strings and a little bit of woodwinds here and there, and a little bit of percussion here and there.
The simple instrumentation and score creates a wandering, floating feeling, similar to Solomon's mind drifting away from his circumstances. For me, it also signifies reflection to his life before slavery, while also evoking feelings of despair in the audience with a slight feeling of hope in a situation the film's characters and narrative repeatedly define as hopeless.
I was just daunted by the importance of the story, and I think it was important to keep the timelessness of the story alive. And to just figure out a little bit how to help an audience to get inside this character, to live just for a moment in this impossible situation, to be living under those circumstances.
Zimmer allows the music to carry many of the scenes in the film without overwhelming them or becoming overly complicated, letting the music create a nearly tangible sense of the scene's energy. Alongside Steve McQueen's directorial and editing choices, as well as the fittingly meandering cinematography, 12 Years a Slave submerges you into Solomon's struggles. These elements don't shy away from the film's dreary, disheartening moments, but seamlessly combine to form an unforgivingly real and oftentimes miserable tone and take you into the mind of several extreme and emotionally powerful circumstances, specifically those of Solomon, a man experiencing incredible mental and emotional distress and triumph. His pain, frustration, sorrow, reminiscence, and ultimately his immeasurable joy and catharsis, until he finally makes it back to his family. However, 12 Years a Slave doesn't simply let the music dictate every emotional moment. Steve McQueen knows when to let ambient sounds and dialogue take over while keeping Zimmer's score subtle or completely silent, adding important contrast between the scenes with and without Zimmer's score and making the scenes that incorporate it even more powerful. McQueen invites us into Solomon's mind and experiences with these scenes and allows us to ponder his thoughts and feelings at different points in the film over the course of several important events in his life. When Zimmer's score is present though, it also gives us insight into Solomon's mind, but with a clearer direction and tone, especially compared to the scenes without it.
Solomon has a theme, and it's really the theme that runs all the way through the movie, and everything that happens in one way or the other is felt, seen, perceived by Solomon and his theme. And so the theme takes on different colors.
The music enhances the film's story, reinforcing Solomon's feelings of isolation, powerlessness, pain, and despair, and establishes those same feelings into the audience itself. Solomon's theme in particular has a slow, methodical pace that, in conjunction with the scene's cinematography, tone, and narrative up to that point, stays in the forefront of the audience's mind, persistently connected to Solomon and his experiences. And since 12 Years a Slave almost exclusively follows Solomon's perspective, Solomon's theme is consequently also aligned closely to the themes of the film as a whole, even from the film's first few moments.
The theme starts at the beginning and it does end at the end. There's a complete cyclical nature to it.
Here, Zimmer explains how the theme has a cyclical nature to it, and through both his explanation and the film's historical context, I understand that its repetition can connect to and echoes the cyclical nature of American slavery as a whole and the trapped feelings many slaves experienced at the time. Not only did a slave typically have to live the entirety of his or her days in bondage, restricted by the laws of people who viewed them as property rather than as people, but a slave's children were also born into a nearly inescapable slavery as well, prolonging and reinforcing this painful cycle on both large and small scales. Hans Zimmer's score may not fully convey these ideas alone, but it does, however, reinforce them. It provides a subtle connection to a larger world, to more than the relatively small life of Solomon Northup, echoing and extrapolating Solomon's experiences and feelings to those of countless slaves both before and after him. Zimmer's score perfectly works alongside 12 Years a Slave's visuals and narrative to reinforce several themes the film establishes, themes of solitude, despair, reminiscence, and hope, while also evoking powerful emotions in the audience reflective of the mindsets of the characters in the film, especially Solomon. Zimmer's score works on several levels, and alongside Steve McQueen's Oscar-nominated direction and the film's other well-executed cinematic elements, helps elevate 12 Years a Slave into one of the most memorable, important, and inspiring tales of despair and hope. Thanks for watching.